Part two, troops. I made a wee slight tweak on the highlighting there. I changed that to green on the circuit diagram on the left here. I changed that to green because what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this at the end and highlight my strip board diagram just to check it. Obviously, in the exam, you can't do that because you can't have a stream of highlighters to do it yourself, but it just makes it easier for myself to check it and for you to understand it. You can do that in the assignment, okay, to really double check everything. Right, now, so let's continue with this. So we have done the voltage supply and the ground source for the op amp. Now I'm going to do pin number 6, the output. So from pin number 6, which I'm going to highlight here in pink, is going from here to here, and then it's going down to ground, and then there's my pink buzzer. Okay, so on the circuit diagram, we're going to draw from pin number 6 here. We're going to do a buzzer. So that's just going to go on a wire, right? And it's going to look like a wee cauldron, like that. And it feeds into there, right? Now, the other end of the buzzer cannot connect to pin number 5. So this here, the other end of this here, cannot go into this row because that would then affect the op amp. So we have to pick another row. And this is where it gets interesting. We start to use different rows and we need to make sure we methodically do this. So I'm going to use this row here. Okay, I'll need to be careful later on to make sure that that doesn't get affected on the other side of the strip board diagram. However, what I now need to do is I need to do another line going down to the ground, and that will be my wire, like so. Okay, right? So if I had to highlight this right now, just so you can see what's happening, that's purple going down, and then there's a purple going down to there, right? And there's the green there, and there's the green there. Okay, you get me? Look at the two, right? So, next, I have got resistors here. So I've got a 5K, I've got a thermistor, I've got a 1K and a 4K. So let's just do it one at a time. Okay, let's look at the 1 kilo ohm resistor here. So you just take it one component at a time to methodically work through this. So what's happening? This 1 kilo ohm resistor is going from the voltage supply rail at the top. However, remember that a resistor really can only take 2 rows. So I'm going to have to add in wires here, right? So from row number 2, or from pin number 2 here, if I indicate that, pin number 2 here, okay, I am going to draw in a resistor. I'll do it here. And it's only going to go roughly about 2 rows to there. And there's my resistor, and I'm going to label it. Now, in the exam, they'll actually give you labels to use. And this one here, there is no actual labels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually write these in now on this one. I could just write in the 5K, but I'm going to write in R1, R2, R3. And that there's my thermistor. And I'm going to label that as a symbol TH1. Okay, so that one there's R2, so I write in R2. Okay, now that's not finished yet because I then need to run a wire up to the top, like that. Okay, and again, that wire could have went up anywhere along that line there. Anywhere along there, that wire could have went up. Could even went up here as well. Okay, right. With me so far. Okay, so let's just highlight things to make it easier for us to understand. What colours have we got? Let's go for the blue for the R2 And that's that one there, and that's feeding into there. All right, and that's here. Yep. Right, and then we just keep working through it. So R3 is on the same row as the pin number 2. So R3 is going to be here. And again, I'm only going to get a small length on it. I'm going to use that row. That row is fine. You need to check that that row is not getting used elsewhere in the circuit. If it is, you would then put a cross in to cut the track. Okay, and I think I'll show you that at some point in this, what you do in that scenario. So that's R3. And that is going to go down to ground. Okay, let's highlight it just to make it simpler for yourselves to understand. R3, and it's going from here straight down to ground. And there's R3 highlighter, going from here straight down to ground. Okay, nearly there, nearly there. So R1 is a 5 kilo ohm resistor. So again, same idea as before. It is coming from pin number 3. So we're now looking at this row here. Move things along a wee bit. Okay, so pin number 3. Again, we're going to have another resistor. I'm going to move it a good bit to the left just to allow a bit of space. And then let's go here, pin number 3. So that's where it's going to start. And it's going to go upwards. So I'm going to put it into looking at rows that I don't have. Right, let's say I pick... Actually, let's play a game here. Let's say I put it in this row here. Right, okay. Could have done it the row below and you would have had this problem. But let's say, for instance, I put it in this row and then I do my wire right up to the very top. What is now happening here, boys and girls? What have I now done here? I have put a resistor R1 into the same row as R2's in, which can't happen. That would create a cross circuit, okay? If that does happen, what you do in the exam is you put a wee smart cross to indicate that you have cut track. Sometimes it has a circle in it. You might see sometimes they like to put a circle around it and a cross. But that basically indicates that you have broken up this line, so that part will not interfere with this part. Okay? Alternatively, you could have put it into that row there and you would have avoided it. Okay? But if you do interfere, then you've got to put that cross in there. Okay? This is where every single candidate's answer is going to be slightly different, and the marker needs to methodically go through each bit one by one. Let's change colour. Let's go for red for a highlight. Okay, so there's that there, there's that there, and that's this bit here. Okay, now see this line here? You might say to me, Mr. Bell, but what about this line here? Why is that line not been put in? Well, that line's already in. That's that line there. Whoops. That is that line there. Okay, that's already in. That's been put in for you. All horizontal lines in a circuit layout diagram are your horizontal rows on your strip board. It's the vertical lines that you're concerned with. Okay, right. So I can highlight that and say that's already been done. All right. Last component, your thermistor, which measures your temperature. Okay, and it's part of your potential divider circuit. So using the old expression of third, when the temperature goes up, the resistance goes down. What that does, it's an op-amp in a comparator mode. It then creates a difference, which then switches on your buzzer. Okay, right, so let's get this last component in. Now, it's coming from the same row, pin number 3. So I'm going to put it in here. Now for this, all you need to do is just copy it like for like with regards to the diagram. And it's got a line that goes up like that. And then we'll label it TH1. Okay. And I'll put it into there. Now just double checking it's not interfering with any lines here. If it did, we'd just cut the track. I'm going to have to check. Let's have a look. Nope, doesn't hit anything, so I'm good to go. And then the final item is going to be a wire, which is going to go, we'll put it from here, straight down to ground, like so. I'm just going to run my ground highlight colour along the top. Now this is one of those videos, boys and girls, you're going to have to watch this step by step, watch it again and again and again. And then what you should get to is a point where you can say, right, well, I am now going to make up my variation of this. I'm going to do this with the class, but I'm going to give you stripboard bits of paper and say, right, here's the diagram, build it and see if you can actually understand it. And it's only then do you really understand a circuit. And this is where we see the proper electronic candidate who actually does really understand it. And this is a skill, again, it's going to help you in the assignment because it's the one area in the assignment that is not done that well. I'm going to change that colour because I've used that one already. And then you'll see the final example in a second. What other colours have we got? Go for a dark green. Done. And then go for a dark green here. And that is you. Alright, there's a finished item. And again, remember, your version could be slightly different in the locations, but the marker would then go through this and he would mark it pin by pin. Marking instructions here as we go. Here's your marks for 5 marks. They ask all resistors correctly placed, right? Buzzer correctly placed, an extra mark. IC pin connections correct. Wiring connections correct. And all labeling correct and present. So you must label the circuit. So I've actually not put in my label for my buzzer. So I would have lost a mark there. Even if you've got one item not in, you lose the mark. It's terrible. But you've got to label absolutely everything. You don't have to label the wires, but you have to label all the components and any other items and the op-amp. So that's your 5th mark. A couple of additional guidance notes here. Footprint of components should be appropriate. So yeah, 9 times out of 10, you can use the same footprint as in your circuit diagram. Candidates need to refer to the 741 IC pin out diagram from the datasheet to the pin functions. So you have to refer to the datasheet to find the exact location of these pin locations. Alternative wiring locations can also be given. Marker needs to work through answer pin by pin and component by component. Okay, there you go. Last question, 5 marker. So what I want you to do now is I'm going to put up on this Google slide more circuit layout diagrams, and I'm going to get you to practice doing these on stripboard paper, and that's the best preparation for this last question. Okay, so you know it's coming, practice for it. All right, and remember you can squiggle on the exam paper as much as you like to indicate you've done each part, and there will also be in the paper I have put after where it says end of question paper, I've put an additional 2 practice ones on the next page, page 17 of the prelim, for you to practice. If you make a mistake, just score out the one and just tell me which one is the one you want me to mark. Okay, if you make a mistake of one. Okay, take your time with this one. This is going to take you at least, I think, 10 minutes. Yeah, you're going to whiz through the other questions in the paper, but your last question and your second last question is going to take up the meaty amount of the time. That's the one that I'm going to be seeing use when you're doing this, double checking. It's the one that's going to take up most of your time. Okay, remember, you don't need to do questions in order. You could know, right, I'm going to go straight to the end and do that question first, and I'm going to go back and do the logic gate question, then go and do the circuit diagram question. You don't need to do things in order, as long as you do every question, or attempt every question at least. Okay, keep it up.